best in the business, of course, distributing the basketball.
A jaw-dropping move by CP3. Oh, what a masterful move by Chris Paul.
What a finish. Now you see it, now you don't.
Paul buries the jumper.
There's a broken ankle in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Superstar point guard Chris Paul heading to the Los Angeles Clippers, and we welcome you to Game Time. Rick Kamla, Greg Anthony, the coach Mike Fratello, and NBA insider David Aldridge. DA reporting that Chris Paul is going from the Hornets to the Los Angeles Clippers in a big package, a much talked about package. DA, in a word, finally.
Finally. Maybe I can get some sleep now.
Tell us how this happened. It's tentative right now, and it's
tentative.
Is it on the table at the league office right now for review?
Yes, I called the league, and I said, look, we've been down this path so many times. Is there any reason to expect this deal will not be approved? I got a text back about 3 minutes ago, said absolutely no reason to expect this deal will not be approved.
Good. So Chris Paul, it's only a matter of time before it becomes officially official, but he is going to be.
As I say, until I see him at the press conference with the jersey, I'll withhold judgment, but it certainly looks like this trade is going to happen.
So let's tell the ladies and gentlemen at home what are the details of this trade. Who's going where, and how is Chris Paul going to become an L.A. Clipper? Again, DA reporting Chris Paul going to the Los Angeles Clippers. Picks or just Paul?
Just Paul, as far as I know. Now, look, trades there's always different iterations. People throw in things at the last second. For right now, this is what I know.
And going to New Orleans, Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, last year of his deal, by the way, Al-Farouq Aminu, the Clippers' top draft pick last season, and the key, an unprotected 2012 first-round pick coming from the Minnesota Timberwolves. You can talk about Rubio all you want. That's still probably going to be a top-5 pick. But Chris Paul is going to the Los Angeles Clippers. GA, let's get your thoughts on this, baby.
You know what? I think it's a home run. No, I take that back. It's a grand slam for the Clippers, and we're going to talk about this a little later. But you also factor in that the Clippers are $14 million under the cap.
Absolutely.
So you saw with the starting five that we put up there, they still have a tremendous amount of flexibility to go get talent as opposed to drafting potential.
Yeah.
So this could make them a real player in that Western Conference. Let's face it, no matter how you slice it, the Lakers have taken a step back, losing Lamar Odom. Let's face it. You could argue, even though Dallas has picked up some nice pieces, maybe they've taken a step back, losing
certainly.
Tyson Chandler.
Yeah.
So, while as bad as the Clippers were a year ago, they didn't just add a good player, Coach. They added a franchise. They didn't add an all-star. They added a superstar. Well, to me, Chris Paul, you could argue he's the best point guard in the league.
You could throw Portland into that group of teams that maybe have taken a step backwards.
Right.
With some of the
Denver.
things that happened with them
All
right
these
now.
teams.
Denver. Okay. So now, that's what happens generally. You try to build a team, and you try to keep your nucleus together and then change the surrounding pieces, those 9, 10, 11, 12 players, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players to complement the starters. And too many times they give up too soon on them. They're not willing to stay the course. Then if you have a good nucleus and you're young and you wind up finishing second or third, be patient because eventually that other team is going to get a little bit older. They're going to lose a piece or two. Then it's your time to make the move. And maybe that's what the Clippers have done here now.
I think absolutely this is what the Clippers have done. And I think they've changed the culture, Coach. I mean, you've been around, Greg, you've been around. You guys know I'm not telling tales out of school here. The Clippers have been a joke for 30 years in this league.
A big joke.
They've been a joke of a franchise that nobody took seriously at all as anything other than the ugly stepchild to the Lakers, the glamorous team in town. And now, finally, the Los Angeles Clippers can stick their chests out a little bit and say, it's our turn, it's our time.
Having BG wasn't enough. Having the slam dunk
It was a great start.
That wasn't enough.
A great start.
Getting Paul to you stamps that we're no longer the Clippers that you knew were a new Clipper team.
Certainly think this should be a different team going forward. Now that you have the hardest position to fill in pro basketball, the point guard fill, and you have a dynamic star power forward that people want to come see, that people will spend money. They have sold 1,000 season tickets in the last week just on the rumor that this deal was going to get done. Okay, so fans understand what's going on here. They bring in Caron Butler, a true professional in every sense of the word, to play small forward. You re-signed DeAndre Jordan, who's an incredibly athletic center with a lot of potential. You throw those out, you got Mo Williams still there. They kept Bledsoe, the young point guard. They've got a real dynamic team now that people are going to have to pay attention to.
Hey, Dia, you mentioned, I was just going to go there, but you hit on it right away. There are two franchises that when I think about their fan base, they just jump out at you. Regardless of what happens during the season, they're there. Mm-hmm. They're great fans. They keep showing up. Golden State.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? All these
Absolutely.
years, they made the playoffs one time at best, 16, 17 years.
Right.
And then how about the Clipper, fanatics who show up? It's their cult following. I'm really happy for them because they've got to be doing backflips right now. So, we're for real now.
You know what's funny, too? It used to be you got Clipper tickets because you couldn't get Lakers.
Right. That's right.
That's right. Flipped. And you know what? Also, juxtapose the dynamic of the front offices of the Lakers and the Clippers in terms of how this whole free agent trade scenario is kind of played out. Yeah. Because you got to give that front office in L.A., the Clippers, a lot of credit for, one, they had the pieces to make the deal, but then to not only make it, but then create an environment where you still, listen, if depending on what they do with that cap space, because they have to use some of it,
right.
With the new collective bargaining, you could be looking at a legit contender in the Western Conference if a few other pieces fall into place for this basketball team. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty startling what's happened, this transformation in the last 2 hours.
Yeah, the job you said, the front office, Neil Olshey, the general manager, just a remarkable job, not only getting the deal, but also selling Chris Paul, because Chris Paul has said, I will opt in after this season. So he's going to take his option year next year. He's going to play his option year. So they're going to have 2 years with him. That makes such a difference as opposed to just one. Now they have 2 years to show him that they mean business and that they can get him signed to an extension. And that's what Neil Olshey did, the GM, in really convincing Chris Paul and his management group that it's worth the gamble for you if you come here to stay here and not test free agency next summer. That's a big difference for that franchise.
And we take a look at their starting lineup right now, or at least their projected starting lineup, if this tentative deal does in fact go through. Chris Paul at the 1. Clipper fans,
look at
they're smiling ear to ear right now. You got to be happy for Clipper Nation. Chauncey Billups, amnestied by the Knicks, picked up off of waivers by the Los Angeles Clippers. And I want to get more into that in just a second, but he figures to be the 2. Caron Butler, D.A., you mentioned him at the 3. And then, of course, Blake Griffin at the 4. DeAndre Jordan at the 5. They have a deep backcourt. Foy's still there. Mo Williams still there. Eric Bledsoe did not go to New Orleans in the deal. And Ryan Gomes, basically their starting 3 last year, now will come off. Depth behind Jordan and Griffin will be a big issue for this team going forward. But for that's a whole task for another day. Right now, it's time to celebrate.
Well, one of those guards will get traded. I don't have any doubt in my mind. From Foy, Williams, Bledsoe, one of those guys has to get traded for front court depth.
I understand. And DA, I want to ask you this, and we'll hear from GA and Coach just a little more in a second. You mentioned that Paul will opt in, and that he will be a Clipper this year and next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Any chance that the Clippers sign him to an extension? Anytime soon, and just lock him up for 4 or 5 years, and then everybody's good, and there's no speculation and no media circus.
No, because it'll cost him money. I mean, in all honesty, it will cost him $25 million.
Cost Chris Paul too much money
to do it that way.
Gotcha.
The way the new rules are set up with the new CBA, it makes more sense to play it out, become a free agent, and then you can re-sign with your team for more money. So if he were to sign an extension now, he would get, I believe, $74 million. If he waits until he's a free agent, he can get a contract above $100 million. Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of money to give up, and I wouldn't expect or ask Chris Paul to give up that kind of money.
That would just be an irrational request. Yeah. I have a rational request of you, Greg Anthony. Do you think Chauncey Billups at the 2 is a good mesh? Do you think it works with Paul at that 1 and 2? And do you think he can guard 2s around the NBA? Do you like Billups at the 2 if that's how it works out?
Chauncey will be fine. The thing about Chauncey and the advantage the Clippers have with him is he's an excellent basketball player. A lot of times in our league, and Coach knows this, we have what I call basketball talents and basketball players. And when you want to compete as an elite team, you need good decision makers out on the floor. And so the fact that he understands how to play team defense. Remember, he's got 2 excellent shot blockers back on that front line. They're going to be deterrents in and of themselves. And Chauncey will do enough of a good job in terms of his positioning out on the floor and understanding what he can do and cannot do at this stage. Chauncey won't be a liability defensively. Plus, he's going to be a tremendous presence in that locker room. As a veteran who's won a world championship, been an MVP of the finals. You know, there are so many positive attributes that Chauncey's going to bring to the table for the LA Clippers, Coach, that will help, I think, expedite the growing curve, the learning curve for both DeAndre and Blake as they continue to excel and become great players.
I'd actually rather see Chauncey trying to defend 2 guards than quick point guards right now who are going to come at him, attack him off the dribble. He can get into a 2-guard with his body. He's smart defensively. He'll take things away. And the guy that came to my mind when you were describing Chauncey was, I'll go back, throwback guy, a little bit of Joe Dumars as far as a guy who knows how to play.
Right.
He's starting 2-guard. Well, he's a little bit undersized. That's okay. He's got toughness about him, and he's smart. Yet we need him at the point guard spot. He can run the show. He can make a play and let Vinnie Johnson come off the bench and score a lot of points.
Right.
You know, a lot of people don't talk enough about your ability to make good decisions on the floor. You know, when you play the game with smarts and IQ, it makes you bigger. You know, if you're undersized and you play smart, you play bigger. Yeah. You know, and he understands. It's just that anticipation he's going to have out on the floor, understanding who you are as a player. You know, that's why coaches always love veteran players, because they play to their strengths. Young players always play to their weaknesses because they're always trying to prove to you what they can do. You know, if you come out of school and they say you can't shoot, what's a young player going to do, Coach? He's going to come in and shoot. He's trying to prove he can shoot.
So he can shoot.
Veteran guy can't shoot. He ain't going to shoot. He's going to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
And so having guys who understand that about themselves, that helps make your team better. That's how you build trust, because now when I know he's going to make good decisions, I'm not afraid to go to him, give him the ball, because I know he's not going to make a negative play. And then when you make more positive plays, forces me to make more positive plays. And then it really circulates throughout your entire roster. And that's why that move could, in a lot of ways, be equally as big, just because it solidifies the position, because you just gave up an all-star, potentially, in
Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon.
Yep.
And him going to New Orleans. So it's a wonderful pickup.
I know we got to break, but think about all the things that you guys have said. You've got Billups, playoffs, finals, MVP.
Yeah.
You've got Chris Paul, playoffs. Been in the playoffs many times, won a round of the playoffs. You got Caron Butler, playoffs. Been in the playoffs a bunch of times with the Wizards.
I don't know if he hasn't gotten the ring yet, but he will.
No, but with the Wizards, he was in a lot of playoff series.
With Dallas, I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
No,
but you're surrounding Blake Griffin with guys that have been in the playoffs. And that makes such a difference for a young guy who's really entering his second year coming up and really doesn't know anything yet about playing in big games. Well, guess what? Clippers, they're going to play in a lot of big games now going forward. And to have a bunch of guys.
Nationally TV,
exactly.
nationally televised games.
Hey, Dave, you left one word out. You surrounded him with veteran guy. You surrounded him with character.
Right.
You
Right.
surrounded him with character. So here are guys that will sit down with him, and he has a tough night or he's doing something he shouldn't be doing out there. They can get him and talk to him the right way, and he'll respect them and listen to them.
You know, it's also a big win for our league.
Absolutely.
You know, you got another major market team that did it the right way. It sets an example for some of the other smaller market teams.
Yeah, and we got to talk about the Hornets, because the Hornets came out of this about as well as you could possibly expect.
Right.
But to your point, I mean, yes, the Clippers have been a major market team, but they really haven't been a major market team. And now they are, and now they're going to be another team that people are going to want to watch.